in 45 days, rejecting the 3 names that the KPA board had forwarded to his office. And as our senior political affairs reporter Murimi Mwangi now tells us, this move has yet again brought to the fore vicious boardroom wars surrounding our office, whose previous holders have either ended up in court or sacked under curious circumstances.
Notoriously termed as a minefield for senior management and fraught with vested interests of either staff or several agencies operating underneath it, the Kenya Ports Authority has over the years been a hot potato, and its managing director post a seat too hot to handle for most of the 14 men and 1 woman that have sat on it since its establishment in 1978. And National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Yattani's Tuesday rejection of all 3 nominees shortlisted by the KPA board for the job hardly comes as a surprise. In his letter to the KPA board demanding for a fresh round of interviews, Yattani said his review of the names, the scores and ranking of the candidates had established that all had scored below the threshold of 70%. Thus directing the board to undertake a fresh recruitment and to conclude the exercise within 45 days. KTN News has learned that the 3 nominees were shortlisted from a list of over 150 initial applicants. They were former Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia LAPSSET Chief Executive Officer Sylvester Kasuku, former Devolution and Planning Principal Secretary Mabruk Mwanamaka, who also served as the National Shipping Line CEO, and lastly Murshid Mohammed, an ex-police commissioner. Yattani's rejection of the 3 names just the latest in a trail of controversies that have dogged the perpetually loss-making but billions-minting agency, whose immediate former MD, Daniel Manduku, resigned in the wake of a scandal, a matter still pending in court, where he faces 4 charges in relation to the loss of 2 billion shillings. Manduku was swiftly replaced by engineer Rashid Salim in an acting capacity. Interestingly though, insiders say Salim never applied for the job. In the recent interviews, of the 15 former KPA MDs, 7 have been sacked, while 3 were forced to resign, with only 4 having completed their terms. But Yattani told KTN News his Tuesday rejection of the 3 nominees was justified, adding that the sensitivity of the MD job and long-term programs the government has with the KPA demands utmost competence, and that anyone picked as MD must not cast any doubts on their ability to turn around the performance of the authority that controls Eastern Africa's arguably most critical port, a threshold Yattani says he could not gamble with, as all the nominees had scored below the required 70% in the interviews. Yattani's letter now gives the board until 16th April to submit a fresh list of 3 from which he will pick the next KPA MD. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News.